Hi. In today's episode, we have Noyanika Chatterjee. Yes, you heard me right. Noyanika Chatterjee, India's supermodel. She's ruled the ramp and the glitzy world of modeling since 3 decades. It's no surprise that Noyanika defies the concept of beauty that's restricted to an age construct. And she makes me feel really great about that. She's gorgeous, and with her unmistakably curly locks, one can never miss Noyanika in the ramp and also otherwise. Welcome, Noyanika.
Hi, Mahua. How are you?
Thank you so much. So now you have to tell me a little bit about your fairy tale life because for us mere mortals, we always look up to people who have the sort of confidence that you have, to be there on the ramp, to carry forward fashion. Now that you've become an entrepreneur, a mother, you are a mentor to so many people. And more than anything else, I am in awe with the humility that you have and the human being that you are. So tell me a little about your journey, Noinika.
Okay, so I think when people have seen adversity or some kind of suffering or pain, I think it makes them stronger. And at that point, they can't look at it like that. So I was this little dark child, born to extremely good-looking and dark parents, fair parents. And all my life, I heard a lot of things, and I never thought of modeling ever as a career. And of course, in those days, modeling wasn't considered a career, it was considered more of a hobby. So I went through education, as most Bengalis are so keen that, education is a must. So I went through all the rigmarole, and by chance, I got this offer to model. And then the story began. But I have to say that I never looked at myself as a beautiful person or, outside physically. So I kind of strengthened a lot inside. Also, my father gave me a lot of support. He was my parents actually, more for my father because he was really extremely fair and good looking. So he just kept pushing me to break all boundaries, do what you want. He never put any pressure on me, and he just tried to give me confidence all the time. And I think that's what kind of made me who I am. And my mother is constantly advising me, supporting me throughout, even now that my dad is not there. And I think that's what's made me who I am. And of course, modeling makes you very independent, strong. It exposes you to a lot of things. So it has been a combination and amalgamation of all the experiences of my life.
So Noinik is very interesting actually when you talk about color. I mean, it makes me travel back because my mother is also dark complexioned in a family where she got married. In Bengali homes where most of them were really fair. From my father, my father's fair, and my aunts and all are very fair, and she was always apologetic. So she was always apologetic about her complexion, and when anyone complimented me, she always used to turn around and say that, "Oh, thank God she doesn't look like me, and she looks like my husband." She resembles her father, and and complexion is such a crazy number in India. I mean, it's really interesting now because now a lot of people, women, are actually becoming aware, and there's such an amazing trend that I see in the social media. About people are talking, and I've written actually a lot of articles on complexion because I've seen my mother apologize forever. She's even gone ahead and told people, "Oh, I look like her maid." So yes. So how old were you when you say that? Of course, I sincerely believe that it is adversity that makes us strong as women, and it goes for my life too. I was bedridden with very crazy, yeah, autoimmune disorder, and I could not get up, and I had an arm that couldn't move. I put on tons and tons of weight, and there was like steroids on me, and what it did to me is that I started writing, started weaving stories, and I never knew how that would become handy, over time. So how old were you when you say that you became resilient and your strength grew? How old were you when you started becoming conscious of the fact that this was something that was hurtful?
It was always hurtful. I think there was, as soon as I remember anything from that time itself, because I was called Gollywog and I was called Sai Baba, and not in a nice way. I mean, Gollywog, you could say was a cute character, and Sai Baba, of course, people consider him as God. But it was always said very derogatorily. And I just remember that was from friends, family. Every time we came back to Kolkata for functions, and they would say, "Oh, what happened to her? And how will she get married?" And I understand that everything does. Your first impression is, of course, on a person's physicality. But what happens is people can't move beyond that. And luckily, there's inclusivity now, and beauty is always been in the eyes of the beholder.
It's very interesting that you say that because, considering the modeling world is about physical beauty. And yeah, so it's very interesting. And how do you kind of stand up for this? Because it is considered beautiful people are there on the ramp. I mean, beautiful bodied people. So people really don't look for soul.
It's a very strange thing. When I started getting modeling offers, and I just took it up at that point, I was not confident of my physicality at all. But it was like my husband was then my boyfriend, and he was already a model. And he said, "Give it a go. Let's see what happens. You don't have to, judge your whole life or your success or your failure or your personality by whether you do well or not. Just try it out for the experience." And then one thing led to the other. So my confidence in my physicality kind of grew over the years. But I mean, even today, I don't consider myself the conventional good looking person. But I realize that something about me works on the ramp. It's my attitude, it's my posture, it's my carriage, it's my poise.
I think the world over people find you beautiful, Noinika.
See, that's what I'm saying. Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. There are a lot of people who I remember, even to my face, "Oh my God, where have you come from?"
Really? Who would believe that?
That that's happened in modeling. I've got refused from work. I've been sent home after the client came and realized I was much darker. All that has happened. So, but I think more what I really am grateful for these experiences, because it kind of made me look at things a lot differently. It gave me the confidence on working on myself as a person. Like I remember when I was much younger and I didn't have modeling and everything, and I used humor, okay, and I was very funny and I was always fun loving. I was always laughing and joking, so people were attracted to me like that. That was my defense mechanism for covering up for all being dark and not matching up to the look standard. So I think it kind of helped me. So I'm not bitter right now at all. I just think that it's great it happened because it's kept me grounded. I did not when if you see a person who's really beautiful and they've been told all their lives, "You're so beautiful, you're so beautiful, you're so beautiful," and then something goes and then they try modeling and then they don't get in for whatever reason. It's like a crash for them much later in life. But for me, it
Hmm.
wasn't that, because I realized there's another side to a person other than physicality. And then as you grow older, you realize that you cannot hold age back, and you're going to age and you're going to
Absolutely.
wrinkle, and you have to accept this changing, the physical changing. And unless you want to go under the knife or whatever, which I don't, I feel that you have to build yourself up holistically, inside, outside. And these kind of experiences have actually helped me. And if it hadn't been there, I probably would have been a different kind of person altogether.
So you're, of course, very, very grateful. Now, tell me something. 3 decades is not like really easy, Noinika, to rule the roost. I mean, 3 decades. I repeat that again. So it is the persona, it is the charisma, and it is who you are. Tell me something. You're a mother now, and would you encourage your daughter to pursue modeling?
Uh, Actually, I'm not sure, because the thing is that she hasn't shown too much of an inclination herself, and she has got a few offers and she's done it on her own. But the thing is that it's you have to be very strong mentally to be in this line, because you're constantly being judged on a day-to-day level, and everyone's parameters are different because it's not something that you can quantify. Why a person likes you and why another person doesn't like you physically is something you can't change and you can't understand either. So I think it's very, very trying a profession. But if you have a good support system like I did, you can kind of, go through with it. Also, you have to be superbly independent. And she's been very protected. So, in a way, I feel, yeah, why not? Because it's given me a lot in life. I've traveled, I've had really, I mean, the last 30 years have been so good because it's been an eye opener. I've been exposed. I've learned so much. I've been able to do so many different kind of things. But the mental stress is a lot. And she has a support from me, but it has to be her choice.
So what is she pursuing?
Right now, she's in class 12. She has
Oh,
a board
lovely
this
is that.
year.
Okay. So you're born with great genes, to have that glorious height and that mane. Who did you inherit this from?
I think my maternal grandfather.
Oh,
He
okay,
was
Dadu.
tall, dark, and handsome.
Oh, you're Dadu.
Dadu.
Yeah. Who's been the greatest influence in your life, Noinika?
I think both my parents, uh, just like both of them, because both of them have just kind of pushed me and never ever felt made me feel. I know what parents do, but you have to understand that here it was a different time also. The British had just left, few whatever, and that hang up was there of fair skin. And also the thing is that I've done what I wanted. I got into NID, and when I went to NID, I went to do graphic design and landed up doing ceramics,
Oh, wow.
which
That's
was something
wonderful.
unheard of. Those, I mean, it was not really someone didn't seek
Yes.
it out as a profession.
Hmm.
So it was not that common. I mean, there were of course many people, but the thing is that everyone was like, "You're going to do ceramics, pottery? Are you insane? How do you make
Hmm.
money?" And my parents said she has to be happy in what she does.
That's very, very progressive. I think a lot of, homes can't really claim this because
Exactly. That's what
during
I'm
our
saying.
times, I mean, you were encouraged to become a doctor, an engineer, or, pursue architecture, but to do ceramics, of course, is completely
And then I ran away
unheard
from
of. Yes.
NID. I did my first 3 years. And then one day I called my dad and I said that I'm leaving. And he said, okay. And he thought I was just coming home. I was there, baggage. And I said, I'm going off to Pondicherry because that's where they're doing, the stuff I want to do.
So you stayed also in Pondicherry.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And you were where in Pondicherry? Tell us a little about that part of Pondicherry.
So there's this Golden Bridge Pottery,
Okay.
which is run by these two Americans who are more Indian than Indians.
Okay.
Ray, Mika, and Deborah Smith. So they teach as well.
Okay.
I worked under them and I had like 2 sessions with them in 2 years. And it was just the most beautiful experience to live there. It's a nice, small, calm town. At least it was then. I haven't been there in a long time. And you come in touch with nature, and it's easy living, and there's no strain of commerciality and you know finances. Nobody's trying to outdo the houses or cars, or people don't even have cars. They have bicycles actually at that time. So it was lovely. It was just a great experience. I am only unhappy, and I'm sure they are also very unhappy with me that I didn't continue my ceramics. But the experience was a great learning experience, as well as one of the most enjoyable experiences.
You've been a mentor to Priyanka Chopra, and now you're starting a completely new venture. I mean, I've been following you on Instagram, and so how did this need in you arise, to start this whole new venture that you've started? And it's very interesting what you're doing. You're working in the arts and crafts sector, which I think is one of the most, the most dynamic sectors in India. And of course, now with COVID, I think a lot of people have really, after the pandemic, have been sitting down and really rethinking about themselves and their life and what they're contributing back to this planet. So it's a great time actually to be in this business, but it's a very tough business, because you're dealing with the weavers and artisans who kind of work on their own time and their own mood, you know. Yeah. So
I'm
how?
learning that progressively.
Yes, I've heard that from a lot of people who work in the arts and crafts sector, and they all turn around and say, "Oh, you have no clue," because if there's sometimes a wedding in the family, the entire village will take off.
Yeah, true, true, true.
And your work will suffer because you're working in a city with certain deadlines, and yes. So, what is your venture called, Noinika? And if you could just share that with us, and what do you do in this?
So basically, I'll go back to Priyanka's time. I was actually offered by Pradeep Guha that time when I was kind of modeling a lot. And he said, why don't you train these girls for Miss India? So I was not, I was like, can I do it? And he said, just tell them what you know. And I said, okay. And that continued. And I have been grooming and training models for the last 20 odd years or more, actually 25 years. And of course, during modeling, you travel so much in India and abroad. And from childhood, my parents have been, road travelers, get into the car, drive, and we would stop here, stop there, and they're very, people who they love India. So there's always been Indian stuff in our house.
Yes. Yes, we were forced as children to learn that.
So,
And
but
then
I
you
was
have,
forced to say.
and you have relatives who come in and they'll say, "Na, ekhon gan gaibe," so you have to sing a song.
So, luckily, because I was kind of better than average in drawing, they said, okay, she can't sing and dance, she's going to paint and things like that. So I remember doing pottery as a summer workshop, even when I was really young. So this kind of influence has always been there. And over the years, I've been doing shows with so many like Khadi and Rajasthan Heritage Week. And I mean, there have been so many projects that involve craftspeople. And I love talking to all these people because I actually thrive on the energy that I get from people and I learn. So I've always talked to people with no, strata barring. So it could be the set, the guys who construct the set or the ironing guys in the shows. I know a lot of them because I would just sit and chat with them, drink chai with them. And that's how, I started saying, oh, how did you make this? How did you make that? And I've even painted the set with painting guys during a fashion show.
How wonderful, Noinika.
It's just like I like doing things constantly. I don't like sitting around too much. So I'm trying to always either chat or, kind of do something. So this has been going on. But of course, now that I'm in the business, it's called India by Noyonika,
It's called INDYA.
INDIYA.
INDIYA.
A underscore by underscore Noyonika.
Okay.
It was so sad that during lockdown, a lot of people, especially these artisan types who I knew, and they just didn't have anything going for them.
Yes, it was terrible.
So it just started with, come on, let me help this guy promote his stuff. So it started with me sending messages to my friends saying that, do you want this linen guy is there? Or do you want, oh, this lady is there for so. Then I said, I can't keep this up if I don't do it properly because it's very difficult to send people individual messages and, things like that. So then and my mother had just come out of COVID and she said, what are you doing? I'm cleaning. What are you doing? I'm dusting. She said, you've had so much to do in your life and you want to only clean and dust all your life. So she kept pushing me. She said, do something, whatever, something, go back to painting, go back to whatever. So I went back to painting and then this culminated. And then I said, I can't create everything myself, but I want to create. Like I'm an art and craft kind of person. So I said, I can't. I wanted to make bags. I wanted to do this. I wanted to make soap. I want to make candles. I wanted to do them myself, but it's not possible. And then I would have to start a production unit. So then I started calling up these artisans. I said, how's your work going? Let me see your stuff. Let me help you. And then I started putting it out. So it's just been a month and a half. And I just want them to be, a lot of them don't understand social media. They don't
Yes,
understand
they don't.
technology.
Yes.
I don't either, but I'm learning. And so together, I'm trying to give them some, hope and business and whatever they can.
What are the clusters that you're working with right now? I saw Chanderi and I saw a beautiful pair of blue earrings which I've been wanting to own and I want to talk to you
That's
about it.
clay and
That's, yes,
resin.
clay and raisin. Yeah, that's mine already. I have to let you know that I have to
Now
place
I'm
the
getting
order with
wooden
you.
jewelry as well.
Oh, lovely.
I have beautiful handcrafted soaps, and they're
Okay.
all very good. Like the base is very good. It's full of, essential oils and everything. So I
Okay.
have linen. I have like, I'm also trying to bring back things that were practical and yet were beautiful and maybe a little old style, but that's okay. Like net covers for jugs, glasses,
Oh, they're beautiful.
hand embroidered napkins,
Yes.
towels. I am
Crochet.
crochet, absolutely. And I've got
Yes.
more crochet products now. I've got my sets, everything. And, like silver jewelry, all the things that I have had a strong influence in my life when growing up,
Okay.
right? Like I've seen all these things. Like my mother still has a net cover and she still has
Same
those
here.
crochet napkins.
My mother's just made a crochet napkin, and yesterday she came and told me that I've made one. I think you should cover, your fruit basket with that.
There you go. So,
Yes.
these are the things, and they're quite practical. I mean, I
Yes.
would love, there's so many food flies right now, to just have that net covering on the
Yes.
top. It's simple things like that. And I've also realized that, we spent a lot of time at home during lockdown. And one realizes that money can't really buy you happiness, right?
No, it
Yes,
cannot.
it can
Not
buy
at
you
all.
your next meal and maybe an extra, a fancy meal, maybe, but it can't. So, what you do is try to look at your surroundings for happiness, though it should come from inside you. But if you make your surroundings a little nice and pretty or nostalgic, like when I look at those net things, I just, smile. It's a strange thing. I look
I
at those
know.
hand napkins. I just look at the linen. I keep folding them, unfolding them sometimes
Yes, I know
because I
what you're
look at the
saying.
work, and it's just I'm so happy to be surrounded by all these beautiful things, nostalgic things.
What's your Bengali nostalgia? Tell me that.
When I was growing up, first of all, were brought up in Bombay, and every holiday was back to Kolkata. No matter
We the
long or
Provashi
short.
Bangalis.
Yeah. So everything was going back to Calcutta and everything. I hated fish growing up. I hated most things bong because it was so difficult. Like,
Same here.
and sing. And I was like,
Yes.
but my parents, they taught me how to read and write in Bengali in Bombay itself.
Same here.
So I had no choice. So I couldn't read Robindranath because it was too much trouble joining the big words and understanding. But
Yes.
of course, I can read the script and everything. So, but now the older I'm growing, I've started loving fish. Like I'll ask for aloo posto and potole dalna and strange things. And my mother looks at me sometimes and says, really?
Shukto.
Yeah, you used to hate all this when you were
Same here.
growing.
I find myself cooking Corolla at home once a
Yeah,
week.
it's like it's strange. And I say, oh, I want just, things like just a boiled egg and a boiled potato, that
Yes.
pish pash. Oh my God. I mean, I've been craving for things like that. So, and of course, everything. I mean, I appreciate even the music now, which I used to find extremely boring, Rabindra Sangeet or
Same here.
something. I actually don't mind like listening.
I really love Rovindam Shungit. It's
Yeah, now
beautiful. Yes,
full.
it is.
So, it comes back. It's like waves, It
Yes.
goes and then it'll come back and then it goes and it comes back. But I've
Yes.
also realized one more thing that I also want it to become, I feel India is getting fragmented a lot right now in terms of we are Bengali and we are Punjabi and we are Muslim and we are Hindu and we are not even whatever South the religions, stratas, communities, everything is being giving too much importance. What is losing importance is the individual. Okay, like we are Indian. And like you are
Absolutely.
married, you're Bengali, you're married to a Kurgi. I am Bengali, I'm married to a Sardar. Now, my daughter is not going to turn around and say, oh, I'm half Bengali, I'm half Sardar. You know, when you're introducing yourself, that's a silly thing. She's going to turn
Yeah.
around and say, I'm an Indian, right?
Yes.
As will your children. They're not going to go into a
Yes.
whole
No, no.
explanation.
Absolutely. Absolutely not.
That is
Yeah.
what I'm looking at also for India and its crafts and everything. Because things like I put in a wooden, yeah, tableware. Everybody uses wooden tableware. It's not a community centric thing.
Yes.
You understand? Nor are the net covers, nor are the saris, no matter how you drape it. Okay, that sari is a sari, right?
Absolutely.
So the thing is, I mean, that's an unstitched garment. It's like amazing. I mean, how many hundred ways that you can wear it, and
Absolutely.
combinations and embroidery, and that's all from India. And there are some designers who are actually kind of now picking up embroidery from here, embroidery from there, mixing it together.
Yes, they are. Yes, absolutely. And sadly, cross stitches, I don't see that very often anymore.
My God, I've got
And
some
it's
napkins.
yes, and that to me is, it's so close to my heart because as a young girl in school, it's also called the convent stitch. I think,
Yes,
in
absolutely. It's
school we
called
were
convent
taught.
stitch.
Yes, and we learned how to do the cross stitch. I was terrible, with stitching, unlike my mother, who's very
Cross
good.
stitch is easy. You must have been
Yes,
good at that. Because I still have made some cross stitch napkins just still
yes.
lying with me.
Yeah, white colored napkins, with cross stitch done on it. Yes.
And the little borders with
The
those
little
straight
borders.
kind of, which you had
Yes.
to tie up.
Yes. You had to tie up. Yeah.
Yes.
So I also used to knit, I think, as a child, and
Hmm.
I was given a ball of wool because I grew up few years of my life in Shillong and then in Delhi. And yeah, so, you had the knitting needles, and that was my
But
sense
the
of,
thing is that today's education does not include that.
yes,
That's a
sadly, it
really
doesn't.
sad thing because, I mean, even at that point, I might have found it pointless. I enjoyed making the napkins, but I didn't enjoy knitting and I didn't enjoy this and I didn't enjoy that in needlework.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
boys, I remember when I was in Bombay, the boys used to complain so much, why are we learning needlework? And, it was just,
Yes.
but it's a simple thing like sewing on a button or to understand, like today I understand a garment better because I know that little basic. Of course, being a model, you learn a lot also about them, but I think it's just a more holistic thing. Even if you make them do
It
it for a
is.
year.
Yes. I had a friend who was my neighbor and he was a boy, and we both used to knit during winters
Yeah,
together.
yeah. I know. My husband said that
And
he used to hate the summer holidays because his old aunts used to just take his sister and him, who wanted to come and climb trees and make them sit and do needlework. So he
yes.
said, I used to get so. He's saying I've done it all with all these old grand aunts and
Yeah.
aunts. He's saying
Yes.
I've done cross stitch, knitting, whatever.
And you also do the woolen ball, they give it to you because in Shillong in
Yeah.
winters you have to make the new sweaters.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The
So,
kite flying has gone off.
yes, kite flying sadly has gone off too. Yes.
So, it's like, I mean, today, we were just discussing, my husband and me yesterday, that today, will you send your daughter or son out on a public transport and say, go to college in a bus?
No, I
Would
don't
be
think any one
scared,
of us. Yes, we are
right?
scared. Absolutely, which we've
But
done
when
all
we
our lives.
are lives, my father never
Absolutely.
thought about it twice.
Yeah, nor did my parents. In a city like Delhi, I grew
Yeah.
up in Delhi, and yeah, we went around in buses and autos.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think they are the next this generation is being brought up like, first of all on a pedestal in a way.
Very entitled.
Yeah, like, oh, I can't go by public bus. I can't do this. I don't know how to stitch, and it's crazy. So, and you can't expect children to be self-motivated, but I think it's very important to expose them to little things and the simpler pleasures in life.
Yes,
Everybody's promoting being successful and being, the best and an expert. But what is the bottom line of all this? Be happy. Okay. And in the end of the day, I hope the lockdown has taught people that it's not everyone can be a Steve Jobs and an Ambani and whatever,
absolutely.
and a Rabindranath maybe, or a Hemanta Mukherjee or whatever. But the point is that you have to be happy within yourself, and realize that your success might be just being happy in your house or doing your thing.
Absolutely.
Like, just because I was a top model doesn't mean I was the happiest mentally at that point of time. I might have been successful in the eyes of everyone, but I think I'm happier today, out of the limelight, that kind of thing.
So nobody would believe if if they were to hear you that, you eat rice with a boiled potato and boiled eggs and a dollop of ghee or butter. Like most Bengalis have that as their soul food, comfort food,
Yeah. But
But
the thing is that I've always eaten everything. And I was not ever the workout type. Our generation, when you
yes,
play,
we never worked out.
we never worked out. We were
never.
always into,
We did not even know the concept of that.
yeah, but we were all pushed for sports, like
Yes.
whatever happened in school, plus like outside as well, like
Yes.
either tennis or badminton or
Yeah.
whatever, cricket in the gully or
I was terrible in sports, but yes, we were active. Yeah.
we were active. We were not, supposed to become champions, but everyone was playing together and there was a lot of physical activity. So I think, so I never kind of got into this workout thing or aerobics or whatever that came into fashion that time. Through my modeling, I have to be honest and say I did look after my food intake in the sense
Okay.
that I was careful about not eating too much fried stuff. And of course, there were binge days for sure. But I never overate the sweets. I was careful, I have to tell you. And I have put on 10 kilos in lockdown because this time I just let myself go. I said, I'm going to eat anything and everything that I can get, which I like. Because I want to see how it is to feel. Because 30 years I've been in control of what I put in. I didn't go on crash diets and all that, but I would, like, I knew that I have a fondness for chocolates and chips and fried things. And
You like begun bhaja?
oof, I love begun bhaja, potul bhaja, anything fried I like. I like chana bhatura also. I like anything, puchka. So I think I'm a complete foodie and I can eat any region, anything. Like right now, I'm been eating sabudana khichdi that my
Oh, that's yum.
yeah. So she started that home restaurant. So I keep ordering sabudana khichdi from her. So it doesn't matter to me which region it belongs to.
As long as it's tasty and it's good.
Tasty, yeah.
Mm.
So, but the thing is that I have been extremely careful because of that all my 30 years. I won't lie to you, but I've never gone on crash diets because I don't think that works.
Thank you so much, Noinika, for being in this episode today. I am in awe with you. You are an amazing human being. And I wish you all the best for your new venture. I for sure right away, I am ordering the clay blue earrings. And I look forward to all the other stuff that you're going to put out. And please share with the listeners your Instagram handle.
I will. It's India, INDIYA underscore by underscore NAYANIKA. Nayanika, but Noyanika actually.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mahua. Thank you.
Thank you so much.